All right, welcome YouTubers, 2021. Welcome to the new year. It's Monday, January 4th, day after the last game of the year, NFL regular season. That's when my betting ends, and I needed to throw up a Hail Mary, and my prayers were answered. All four of my picks came in, and so in the fix scheme, I was started the week at 18.5 on a $20,000 starting bankroll, so down as I've been all season. But all four games came in. That was 8,000 out. It's profit of 72.72 after you get your bet back. So yeah, finished the year at 25.8. So $5,800 above the 20,000 level. So profitable season. Ended up 23-18, I believe, in terms of percentage of picks or whatever you want to do it. Martingale scheme was way down in the dumps. There was 11-4 at the beginning of the week on a 20,000. And I put 11,151 out there. Again, all the picks came in. 10,136 in profit. That left me at 21.5 for the year. I will caveat both of these a little later in the video in terms of the $20,000 bankroll and where we got and how we got there. And the last scheme, the scheme that I most often play, is the multiple scheme. So in other words, it's $1,000 bets, but you might bet multiple per game. And that's what I did this week. I bet 3,000 on Philadelphia. They just barely covered. Again, Washington had a chance maybe to kick a field goal, a long field goal. They decided to punt. Great for me. Ran the clock out. Plus 6.5 for Philadelphia. Lost by 6. That's a winner. ATS. New England, I had 3 bets on them. They won easily. Detroit was a one that I had only had one bet, $1,000 out on, and they, again, same type of thing, hoping Minnesota wouldn't kick a field goal, run the clock out. They did. Things worked out that way. And the last game was LA Rams. They covered pretty easily. They were a 2x bet. So 3 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 is $9,000 out there. All winners. That's 81.81 in profit. That took me from 17.5 at the beginning of the week up to 25.7. So another profitable area. And that one I never used any of the $20,000 bankroll, although we'll talk about that. So 4-0 fixed and effectively 9-0, $9,000 bet. 9 $1,000 bets out there, and I won all of them, 9-0. That gave me, went from 27-27 to 36-27. So we'll talk about that. Let me put up on the screen the year. Let's recap the year, because it was a stressful year. I thought for sure this was going to be a loser, just the way I came out. So what you see on the screen is I've got a bunch of columns there, right? The first week is the week of the season, so 1 through 17. And the second column is what I'll call the multiple scheme balance. So that's after the week is done, what my balance was. And you can see I didn't bet the first 5 weeks, although I should have bet week 4. But I screwed that up. I apologize. I apologized on earlier videos. Had a computer crash and was trying to recreate it, doing it by hand. But I normally don't. I took the scores page of Covers.com, Game Time Lines. I should have used the team page, and if that used that team page, then Washington ended up in a push in week 3. So I ended up with a win instead of a push, and so they wouldn't have been head to head with the Rams. I would have played the Rams. I'll get into that more. That ends up being a little bit more money, even though I didn't put it on YouTube. I didn't predict it. It was my algorithm. So I'm interested in both. I'm interested in what I put in YouTube, and I put in an algorithm. But what you see on the screen is what I put on YouTube. So it is what it is. The second column is the same thing. It's multiple scheme, but it's out of pocket. It's what you put out at the beginning of the week, and hopefully you'll win some games and get it back. So again, on week 6, I made 3 bets, so it was $17,000. I didn't win any of them, so that's why my balance was $17,000 if you look at that column. And so that's a tracking of how much of the $20,000 I used or more this particular year. Let's see, third, 1, 2, 3, fourth, and fifth are fixed balance and fixed OOP, and then Martingale balance and Martingale OOP wrap out those last 2 columns, and we'll talk about the stuff on the right after that. Highlights, lowlights. I put in red the lows of the year, and I put in green the winning weeks. I really only had 5 winning weeks. As you can see, out through week 8, I had expelled down to 13,000. So I put 7 bets out there in the multiple scheme of $1,000, and I went 0-7. So congratulations, that was deep, deep hole. After that, I started to recover. Again, I won a week, I lost a week, I won a week, I lost 2 weeks, I won a week, I lost a week. So one step forward, one step back, and then the last 2 weeks it just came on like gangbusters. I hate to play those last 2 weeks, like I've said before, but that's where we're at. So yeah, in week 13, I hit a low of 11,999 for balance. So that was my low balance. Ended up with 25,724 on a $20,000 bankroll. The second column tells me that way out in week 16, after I put my money out for the week, I had $362 left. So just a shade under 20,000, but under 20,000 is under 20,000. So I used up a lot of the bankroll, but I got it all back, right? So just as a scheme, so I no need to scale or anything else there. That was kind of a full use on a terrible year. I hate to lose early. I like to be up and then spend more money. So that caught up on the other two systems. The fixed system out on the fourth column, they had $10,000 after week 8. They were 0-5. And eventually out in week 11, I had to expend more than the 20,000, an additional $728, so 20,728. That was the low of the year. Also in week 16, I had to go negative. I will caveat that. But it is what it is. I'm going to do my ROI against the total layout that I would have need for bankroll. But, I got all that money back. That 728 I got back. So it ended up with 58.14 in profit. The Martingale was a disaster. But it hit 10,684 in week 10. In that same week, I was putting out an additional 2842, so 22,842 or something like that was what I needed. Eventually, out in week 16, I needed to put a whopping 10,858 to fully fund the bets. It all came back to me to roost, but that's a lot of money to put out extra. It's almost more. It's more than 50%. It's going to be 30,858. So hate to dig into the pocket like that. Not a good pick. The next column out there, you see the 0-7 and 0-5 out there. Those are after week 8. That's where I was in the hole. After that, I went up, and effectively in week 16, I was 27-27 in the multiple scheme, I said. So I was really 27-20 over that time frame from week 9 to 16. And then the last week, I went 9-0 to be 36-27. Same thing with the Martingale right next to it. I ended up 23-18. Now, if we go out to the right over there and on the up, 36-27 is a 57.1% picker. That's what I advertised. And I got there. I got there one way or another. Again, it's going to be my algorithm will be one more win than that. Be a little higher. So it's actually better than average year, but hated the way I got there, but I got there. And 23-18 is a 56.1% picker. Not a bad picker, right? 56-57%. Fine with me. Plus, the next set of data down there, plus 57.24 on a $20,000 bankroll is a 28.6% ROI, positive. So that was the multiple scheme. The fixed, I went with, it's a little bit larger number because I bet more money on the fixed. I bet 2,000 a game instead of 1,000. 58.14 it came back, but I was on a 20,728 bankroll. That's going to be a 24.5, a little bit less ROI, but still in the 25 region. Again, we had to go more than the 20,000. And at the end of the day, it's hard to do what if you make plus 1543 on a $31,000 practically bankroll, that's only 5% ROI. That's the Martingale in a nutshell. Next paragraph down, again, Rams should have been a stage 3 bet out in week 4 and not a Washington stage 2. So effectively, I would have, because the Rams won, I would have been 1-0 on the fixed and multiple scheme. I would have been up $909 in profit on the multiple, $1,818 on the fixed, and the Martingale would work out with a $12.39 bet, would have reached me $11.26 profit, but instead I lost $5.12. So you take the difference between those two, and it's going to be $1,638. So all three of these systems could have been less in the hole by that much and end up winning that much more. So $1,000, $2,000 more. We're only talking about $5,700, $5,800, another 1,000 or 2,000 above that is much better ROI. So yeah, it would have been effectively 33%, 38%, and 10.8% across the three systems, and the fixed would have done a little bit better in that scheme. And actually, I wouldn't have used the $728 additional. I would have stayed within the $20,000 parameter on the fixed. So yeah, I can apologize that for 100 times, but at the end of the day, it was only a couple $1,000s per $20,000 of bankroll. We'll have to live with the profits we got. I have another note. Most years, not all years, but most of the years, I have a small discrepancy between the covers.com game time line and what I could have bet or what the bets were most of the week. And sometimes very minor, like they get a push and I get a win. Other times they count me as a loss and I get a push. So you save what I call half a bet, right? I mean, you either would have got the profit off the win that you didn't get credit for in my covered line, or you got your money back on a push, right? So it's, $1,000 or $2,000 depending on the system. Once in a while, you get a full mess where cover says you lose. They're giving you some weird number like -4, right? And all week long you could have bet -1 while the team ends up winning by 3, and so cover says you lost, and we say the real world you win, right? So what I'm trying to say is, every year I've done this, I've either had a nothing, only a couple times. It's like the second time I think I've had nothing in 10 years. Other than that, I usually get a half to a game and a half or more in the real world, right? So again, these are covers.com game time lines, because I could sit here and say, oh, I bet this on 5 times and got this and did that. You should have bet it in the first 10 minutes my video came out. Well, it's not the way it works. I'm gonna go off the covers.com game time line because it's there for everybody and equalizes everything out. But no discrepancies this year, so a little weird. I'll go double check that again. To wrap up the video, the last little bit, I based it, I like to look at other investments, right, other than sports betting or NFL betting in this particular case. And so I went from September 10th, that was a kickoff. I think we're a little late this year, but maybe not, to January 3rd. I mean, all the teams have got their 16 games in. Some of them, there's 1 or 2 scenarios where you had to skip a week or play it on Tuesdays. They were playing all kinds of stuff with the COVID, but thankfully they got all the games in. So other investments like Bitcoin crazy this year, went crazy. I mean, it started the year, for the full year it was 7,000 and it went to 32,000, so more than 4x. But from the September alone, September 10th, it was at 10.4, and now it's at 32.7. So that's plus 215%, or tripling your money or more. Nothing beats Bitcoin this year, I don't think. Maybe you got some other investment that did, but wow, Bitcoin. I mean, can you predict that? No. But definitely a loser. Definitely should have took my money out of sports gambling and put it into Bitcoin. But so be it. Gold went down a little bit and went 1943 on September 10th. It's now 1905. I think it jumped up today, like $40 to be back where it is at 0. But net loss -2%. So gold wasn't the best investment for the year. Gold did pretty good. I think it started 1,500 last January, and now it's 1,900. I expect gold to go down. Gold is expensive relative to houses right now. I expect it to come back in line with the housing percentages. So I expect that to be a long-term loss, but it net neutral. So my sports betting was better than holding gold, that's for sure. Apple is kind of an anomaly. I usually choose Apple every single year just to say, okay, what was it? Apple split 4-1 August 31st. It was running just under 500 or 500 or so right before the 4-1 split, so you can count it 125 after. All the charts have been reset magically, right? Like it never was $500, right? Or never was $600 back in the day when it did a 7-1 split. But immediately, like on the 1st of September, it was 134, and then it plunged back down to 113 when I picked it up on 9/10. So kind of an anomaly. Anything after a split, everything goes, rah! Everybody doesn't know what the price this thing is, good or bad. It didn't go back over the 125 level to the 15th of December, I think. So it kind of stayed stagnant as a non-profitable investment. But just like me, on the last couple of weeks of the year, it shot up, and now it's at 132 as of yesterday or today. And that's from 113 to 132 is a 16.8% ROI. Not as good as my sports betting, but you did get that 4-1 split in there. And if you count 125 to 132, that's only $7 instead of 20. That's 1/3, so 6 or 7%. So I mean, stock market did well this year. Gold did well. Bitcoin did well. Everything did well. So my sports betting doesn't excel by example, but again, 28% ROI for my multiple scheme is a decent return. I mean, I would have quit probably if I got around that number on weeks 15, 14, whenever I got it. So that's the summary of the year in a nutshell for NFL. I actually didn't look yet for the NBA. I don't know if they're playing. I don't know what I'm going to do. I only play NBA, MLB. I skipped it last year, and so it might be until next year again. So, with this COVID and the weird schedules, and even the games themselves, and I think I didn't really run the numbers to see, but without the crowd noise, I think the opponent scored a little more. It set things off. I had a tough year. I'm going to do another video on really the only other picker, and he had a terrible year, and I think everybody's having a tough year. So it's a tough year to pick, but I managed to pull out a 57% out of my yin-yang, out of my butthole, but I'm happy for it. Great New Year's present from me. If you bet along, especially the last couple weeks, should have been a great year for you too. But yeah, free YouTube picks, free money. See you next year, all right? Risk is on.